deep trust that you would have that your body is just doing all this amazing stuff and you don't even have to do so much of it. I'm Heather Grzych, and this is the Wisdom of the Body podcast. This podcast explores the idea of body intelligence as the real key to learning the knowledge of life, or what we call Ayurveda in the ancient language of Sanskrit. We do that by connecting with today's creative leaders and experts who will help you listen to your body, trust your gut, and live in deeper harmony with nature. Come join me as we unlock the golden door to clear, direct perception and become very deep listeners. You can find the Wisdom of the Body podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also follow us by joining my email at heathergrish.com or on Instagram at heathergrish. I know you're going to love this podcast, so take a second right now to subscribe. So wonderful to be here with you today, and I want to take you on an experience of how your mind is experiencing the world around you and the world inside you today. So go ahead and find a comfortable seated position. See if you want to close your eyes and let your eyes rest back into their sockets. Good. See if you can just notice the breath coming in and out of your nostrils. And as you notice the breath coming in and out of the nostrils, and you don't have to breathe in any particular way, just breathe the way you need to breathe. But as you are breathing, notice that you can feel the temperature of the air as the breath comes in the nostrils, and you notice the temperature of the breath as it comes out of the nostrils. And you can't see the breath as it comes in and out of the nostrils. You can't see it, but you know it's there because you can feel it. So if I were to stand next to you, I wouldn't be able to actually see the breath coming out of your nostrils. Unless it was very cold out, maybe I'd be able to detect a little bit as it came out of your mouth. But we can't see breath, but we can see the body as the body moves. And as the body moves, it takes the breath in from the space around it. As it breathes in and as it breathes out, it releases the breath back out to the air around us, to that space around us. And so if you notice that feeling of the breath coming in and out of the nostrils, and see if you can notice the breath and the temperature of the breath. And so as the breath comes in, it might have one temperature and feel a certain way. And as you breathe out, the breath might have another feeling of temperature as it goes out. And that might feel a little bit different. You might notice it feels a little bit warmer on the out breath because you are warm. You're warmer than the air around you, unless it's over 98 point whatever your normal body temperature is typically, which may or may not be 98.6. I can say that people say that that's the normal body temperature or the average body temperature, but anyone who's ever taken their temperature on a regular basis knows that their body temperature is fluctuating a little bit all the time in response to the environment around us and in response to things that are going on inside our bodies and physiological processes that are taking place, including things like ovulation will change it. But very simple things, exercise, being upset even, all these things can actually change us inside. So though we may not be able to see everything that's going on, some things are subtle, we can feel everything. And sometimes we can't feel everything, and sometimes we're more sensitive than others. So we have different levels of sensitivity in our bodies, and that may change as well through time or circumstance. And as we experience the world around us, all of us have different densities to our bodies. We all have different tissue construction. Our buildings are different that we live in. Rumi has that poem, The Guest House, right? So our buildings that we occupy and our souls occupy, our minds occupy, they're all different. They're all made up a little bit differently, even though they have all the same basic parts. We all have hearts and lungs and kidneys and the same basic organ structures. We're all basically the same, but we're all a little bit different too. Some of us have thicker hair. Some of us have thicker skin. Some of us have thicker teeth. Some of us have thin, permeable tissues in certain areas of our bodies. I dated somebody who had one kidney, was born with one kidney. I know somebody whose heart was placed on the right side when he was being cooked in his mommy's belly. So we think we're all the same, but we're all a little bit different too. And we experience the world differently because we have different bodies. And we also experience the world differently because we have different minds. And we have different minds because they've been filled with different experiences, different learnings. And they go through bodies that have different makeups, different structures, different densities, different rates of speed which things pass through them, different acidity levels, different levels of stickiness. Some of us hesitate more naturally. Some of us flow more naturally. And yet, as the weather changes, may change that within us. Or maybe as we all go into that warmer weather, we melt. Maybe we all move a little more quickly. So we are different, and yet we are all very similar. And this mind piece is a tricky one because it's very different. The ways that our minds are programmed and the way that it's like we have these codes that are placed within us, or these tethers to things in the world, and they become activated and they have tendencies and they can be changed, which is super fascinating. They can be changed. And there are some things that are harder to change, but a lot of the things can be changed. And we're more likely to be able to change them with intention when we have self-awareness, when we are observing, when our awareness can view ourself, when the awareness isn't just looking at the sensory world around us, but it is also looking at the sensory world within us. And the sensory world within us includes this role of experiencer. And as we have this role of experiencer within us, it is absolutely possible for us to be behaving our best and behaving our worst, all while experiencing it. We are fallible humans that don't always do things perfectly. We screw up all the time. And as we train ourselves to be a certain way, sometimes we slip up. Sometimes we have moments where we get roped into an old pattern, and we know that these are just patterns and that they can be changed. And the cool thing is that we have this experiencer observing, and we have the observer there all the time. So we have an experiencer which is reacting perhaps to things, or feeling, or choosing actions to take. But we also have this detached observer at the same time that is running in parallel. And so that's why we could actually do something that we recognize was not our best self. Because we have that part of us that still can see, or we can observe that we did something incredible. We could observe whatever we're doing, right? Because then we have this other part of us that interprets it, whether we did was good or bad. And all those are kind of separate parts within us, because we have all of them. We have the ability to observe. We have the ability to feel. We have the ability to react. We have the ability to choose actions. We have all of these abilities. And yet there is an observer noticing all of that. And some of that is conscious. Some of that is not conscious. And it's very freaky to think about the magnitude of things and processes that are occurring within us that are not conscious, that are not things that we're thinking about or that we're intentionally doing in a moment. And yet they're what keeps our heart pumping. They're what aligns our menstrual cycle to something. They're what guides our hunger, keeps our breath going. Because we could think about our breath. We can consciously control breath, but we can also just breathe unconsciously. And that's pretty amazing that we have this whole system there that is doing things without us even trying. So we have all these different parts, even just to our mind. Just like we have organs, even our mind has different functions. Thought, memory, learning, recall, choosing, discernment, observing. Just a few examples of those functions of the mind. And it's really wonderful when we can observe them, because when we can observe them, we can start to change the web that we are in inside our bodies and possibly even outside of our bodies as we influence the world around us. So this is really wonderful that we have the luxury to even contemplate this, to be here with this, all of this, and to know this about ourselves. So just for a moment, really appreciate the wonder of your body and the deep trust that you must have of this body, just like no other person in the world. The deep trust that you would have that your body is just doing all this amazing stuff and you don't even have to do so much of it. It's all being taken care of for you. In those moments where we feel like we need more help in our lives, it's like, wow, we already have so much. What is driving this? It's so beautiful. So I just want to say thank you for being here with me today. I feel very grateful to have this experience to be with you and to even experience this and be able to know that all these things are going on inside me. And I am looking forward to hearing about your experience of your body. I want to thank you for listening to this show. It brings me great pleasure to provide this content to you. I also want to let you know that I'll be making some very amazing announcements soon. And if you're not already on my email list, then I encourage you to go over to my website and subscribe to my email list so that I can keep you informed about these announcements that are going to be coming up very soon. So my website is heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. And I look forward to getting these important announcements to you very soon and connecting. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. To learn more about my work, visit heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.